How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Great. Thanks for being on the show. This is great.
Yeah,
So,
thanks for having me.
no worries. So, for anyone who doesn't know, this is Jennifer Nangle, and this is Make Your Own Fun. So, yeah, I've been wanting to talk to you for a while about everything you've got going on. You're doing so much. It's so inspiring. You're probably one of the hardest working actors that I've seen, especially like in the last couple of years. That's really impressive.
Thank you. That's very sweet of you to say.
So I did a little research here. It didn't take too long. So tell me about Boston and coming from there, and kind of like what your acting experience was, kind of maybe growing up and through school.
Yeah, so I grew up in a small town called Danvers, which is right next to Salem in Massachusetts, North Shore. So I was always surrounded by a lot of history, Salem witches. I grew up in a haunted house. Um, full body apparitions were seen in it. Like my dad saw a full body apparition. I only lived in that house until I was 6, and then we moved. But I didn't get into acting until I was 10. I saw some family friends in a stage play called The Sound of Music. And they were younger than me. And I was just so amazed at how they were able to hit their marks and remember all the dance steps and sing and do all this stuff. And I've always loved to dance and sing. So I was like, this is what I want to do. So I told my mom, and she, I don't know, was very happy because my uncle was an actor for a long time in New York. And so it's a hard life. It's an extremely hard life. And so I think she didn't know what to do, but she definitely encouraged me. And so from when I was 10 all the way up through high school, I did community theater, I did musical theater, I did any show I could possible. I auditioned for everything and anything. I just was so hungry and wanted it so badly that when it became time to decide what to do with college, if I wanted to further my education, I wanted to go straight to New York. I wanted to just get on that Broadway stage. Like that was the dream. But my parents, being educators, were like, over our dead bodies, you have to go to college, get a degree, and think of something normal and realistic. And so I was like, well, if I have to go to college, I want to major in theater. So they allowed it, and we must have looked at so many schools, but I was really encouraged to look at Niagara University in Niagara Falls, New York, because they had a very strong theater program. It wasn't like in the city, because I wanted to look at NYU and Juilliard, but I just didn't have the grades or anything to pursue that. So I was encouraged to go to Niagara, at a very strong theater program. After graduating, for 4 years BFA in theater studies, I hung around Buffalo, did some Shakespeare in the Park, did a couple stage plays, but I just found it very small, and the same people were being cast over and over again, and it was really hard to break through. And I decided I wanted something bigger, so let's move to LA. Here I am.
For the moment, so with LA, did you move out with like a group of friends, or was it like something you did in stages, or was there like work, like a day job, and like projects waiting for you when you got here? Because you've been here for like what, almost 10 years now?
A little over, yeah. I would say like close to 13, 14 years. Yeah, yeah. Um, I, I originally, and this is going to date me, but I'm only 28 years old. But I wanted to go to New York after I graduated, but like 9/11 happened, like the 6 months prior, and so you know I did know some classmates that did go straight to New York afterwards, but I knew a lot of people coming back home from New York. There wasn't a lot of work. It was a really hard time for the industry and that city, and so I kind of was like, well, maybe New York's not the place for me because of this. And I had a couple classmates move out to LA like 2 years prior, and I was like, well, if they're doing it and they're loving it and living it, I can too. And so talking with my uncle, who was an actor for a long time, he said to me, if you're going to move out to LA, you really need to focus on real training in acting. He's like, musical theater is great, but that doesn't work for film and television. You really have to figure something else out. And so that's when I was introduced to the Meisner technique program, and I moved out here and enrolled in the Laura Henry Acting Studio for 2 years. And that was the hardest thing I think I've ever been through. And I hated every second of it. I wanted to quit every moment. I didn't want to do it. I hated it. But after I left and was out in the real world auditioning, I learned that that was such a blessing. It made me so strong too.
Nice, nice. Okay, so you're here in LA, and I'm sure you've got like a myriad of day jobs. You're probably doing like, open mic stage shows, helping out with other people's productions. Like, when did you think you were starting to kind of put your own kind of projects together? When did you kind of feel like I found my people, I found like a group of people that I want to work with and do like more and more projects with like those same kind of group of people?
Well, being an actor, if anybody is one, you know how hard it is, because every day is a day full of rejection. It's never like when you get that one yes, you're like, oh my God, thank you. Yes, 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 this is going to be a great day. But 90% of the time, it's always no, it's rejection. You don't hear back, you don't hear anything. And so there was a chunk of time where I would say like twice a week, 3 times a week, I was going out for commercials. And, it was just so much work, like getting ready, trying to somewhat prepare, try to figure out what you're going to, do in the room, because a lot of times there aren't any sides. So it's like you going in and trying to be yourself but act and be good at the same time. I don't know, it's just crazy. So it started to wear on me. And so I had a friend, her name's Jen Wilson, and that's when the whole self-producing thing started to become like a big thing. And she's like, I have this idea for a web series. What do you think? Would you like to be a part of it? Would you like to, create your own character? And I was like, yeah, like we could do that. And she's like, yeah, I know this guy, he's got a camera. I know this director. I've got a friend who's going to write the script. Like, let's just see what we can do. And so, we did do the crowdfunding, and we raised what I still feel is like a good chunk of money. It's not what a lot of people do nowadays, but it was a good
You
chunk of
need to
money.
get it done, right?
Exactly. But then you realize like it's not a lot, and everything's so dang expensive. And, locations are like crazy, and, you got to feed everybody. And then, nobody was getting paid either. So it was like, everybody was dedicating their time and energy and creativity. But like I learned so much. I learned like how to record sound. Like I didn't go to film school. I had no idea. I learned, like what 1080p was, and like how to, what a
Right. And that's like
disk
I was
drive
gonna
was.
say, like I had a similar experience when I first came to town. And what I learned, and I'm sure you did too, that if you meet people and you become friends with, or you become like coworkers with on projects, like if somebody has a camera that's not the best camera in the world, but they own that camera, that's going to save you so much time from like renting, or somebody who has like a lighting rig that, yeah, maybe it's not like a $5,000 or $10,000 lighting rig, but they have it. So you're not like that pressure for time, because when you feel that pressure for time, your project suffers. So yeah, that's just something like I try to tell like younger people too, that I see like getting into the business. Like if you can find people that already have stuff, like be their best friend.
Oh my God, absolutely. And I feel like this generation's very, very lucky because we all have those things now. We all have these crazy, well, I don't, because I've got like an old school iPhone, but like, all the new iPhones are like ridiculously high quality. Like there really is no reason for people to be like, I can't do anything, because you have it in your hand.
Yeah, I
Guarantee
mean,
you're
the only
probably
thing
making
that
a
I haven't
TikTok with it.
really seen that it kind of makes me kind of sad is that there's so many I feel so old saying this, but so many like kids coming out of college that I see that are so tech savvy with things they can do to create websites or effects or sound or editing. but there's just like such a lack of focus on the story. Like, oh, like you'll talk to somebody who's like putting an ad out or they're casting, like, oh, what's the story? Well, it's like this guy and he does this thing and it's pretty cool. Like, right, okay.
Right.
So I know you
Right.
run into that all the time, but so take me into this whole world of this character you've created for the Malvolia and like the outfits and just kind of what inspired it. And I'm curious like, where it came from.
With the whole self-producing, I learned that I could create a character, I could tell a story that I want to tell, and I would always be cast as the lead. So why not, right? Like, forget all those commercial. I mean, I shouldn't really forget all those commercial auditions because if I book a national, that would be like life-saving. But it wasn't like fulfilling me creatively. And so I got into the horror genre. I've always, loved horror, grew up with horror around me. And so I did this short film called Demonic Attachment, which was kind of based on the haunted house I grew up in and like Salem witches and everything. And that kind of introduced me to this whole other community that I didn't realize really existed. And so, after trying to make my way through like networking and work with certain people that I want to work with, kind of like film franchise where it's a lead female, and they were moving on to their fourth movie, and I was like, I want to be a part of this. And so the creator director guy, he was like, "We'll write a treatment," and I was like, "What's a treatment? I don't even know." So I learned what a treatment was, and I wrote this treatment, and he didn't read it, but I tried to give him my elevator pitch, and he said thanks but no thanks. But the treatment got to one of the producers, and the producer was like, "Hey, you've got something here." He's like, "You should really continue on with this. Like, sorry, we aren't going to use it, but you should do something with this." And I was like, "Okay." So not being under the film franchise, like certain specific guidelines, I was like, I want to make a found footage horror movie on something that nobody's talking about. What is nobody talking about? Well, I went to Son of Monsterpalooza that year, and that's the year that they were celebrating Elvira. And I was like, nobody's talking about horror hosting. Like, oh my God, that's what I should do. And I totally stand corrected today. I understand that that's a whole thing going on still and on public access, and there are people all over the nation doing it. But at the time, I was so naive, I didn't know. So I was like, I'm going to make a found footage movie about a horror host. And so doing it and kind of going through a Blair Witch, project thing, I was like, I want to make it real. I want to make this character real. I'll make a 6-episode web series, get her out there, show her off, get this vibe, get a fan base, write the script, do the film, and it'll be done. Well, that didn't happen because everybody really liked her. And so here we are today.
That's so awesome. And I have to ask because, I'm of a certain age and I kind of grew up with something similar in the 80s, and maybe you did too, that you saw this. So how conscious are you of trying to stay away from like the Elvira like personality? You know who she is, right?
And it's funny because I was just talking about this with one of my friends the other day. It's so hard because every time I say horror host, people are like, "Oh, like Elvira?" And it's like, no, like Vampira, like Morticia Adams. Like
Right.
that was my motive. I didn't want to be this, girl next woman of the night next door, goofy and funny and bubbly. I wanted to be mysterious. I wanted to be dark. I wanted to be vicious. I wanted to be evil. And I wanted to get a lot of aggression out too, because, being an actress, you get stereotyped. And so for the longest time I heard, you're just the best friend, you're the girl next door, you're really funny, you got this great personality, but you would never be, the lead. You would never play an evil villain. And I was like, oh, I will show you. And so that was kind of a lot of motivation to be like, yeah, I can be evil, I can be mean, I can, be vicious. And now I'm typecasted as that. So you just can't win.
No, and I think that everything that you've done so far is perfect and spot on. So it's just a little bit, it's just that Hollywood, crap where it's like people see you do a certain thing and they think you can only do that thing. And then until you do
Mhm.
something and you know, just so surpass their expectations. And now they're the schmucks that they passed on you. So shame on them, you know. I'm just saying.
All y'all listening. Uh-huh,
Um,
uh-huh.
so I know that you have this Halloween special that's coming out next month. So tell me a little bit about that. And I also found out through a little bird called Facebook about the updated kind of like recording studio situation. So tell us a little bit about that too.
The recording studio.
Where
We'll have
you
to go
filmed
into.
it?
Oh, well, we filmed it. Or we filmed it. Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. So every year, Malvolia has her annual Halloween special, and so we are now on season 5. And this one, I got to be honest, this was a tough episode for me to write. You know, season 1 was done by one of my really great friends and producer of the series, Hunter Johnson, and you know, we did like kind of like a found footage reality feel. And then we moved into season 2, where I wanted to be a little bit more vicious and evil and mean, and so there was a lot more special effects and kills and stuff. And then 3, it's kind of like a party hardy fun thing. Last year was very sad and depressing because we were in 2020. So this year it was like, well, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? And creatively, it's been really hard because I get a lot of inspiration off of like everything or that's around me, or you know, things that I've seen, and I really haven't seen a lot of stuff that's really tickled my taste buds, if we say so. You know, this we I ended up talking a lot of this story out with a couple of friends, and we came up with a really fun twist. And I'm really excited for it. And initially, I had written it for a space that I had shot in for another project, and communication and things didn't collide, and so I was stuck. I didn't have anywhere to go or anywhere to shoot this. I didn't want to go to another apartment. I didn't want to go to somebody's house. I wanted something different. And so miraculously, the universe worked out where an old friend just bought kind of like studio atmosphere, and he's redoing it right now. And he was like, hey, what exactly are you looking for? I heard you were looking for a warehouse. And I'm like, yeah, this is kind of the idea, but I'm totally open, we can do whatever. And he was like, oh, well, you can use my facility. So we shot at Media City Studios in downtown LA for 2 days, and it's creepy, it's eerie, it's dark, it's dreary, and it was perfect.
That's awesome. That's just serendipity, the way it works out sometimes. So, you know, you're
Yeah.
working on this project and various other things. And to go back what I was saying earlier about you being a working actress, I know you do other things outside of horror. Um, so, since you've done so much horror lately, are there any genres that you want to tackle that you haven't tried yet, that you're kind of like chomping at the bit to try?
Um, horror really feeds my soul. And I think it feeds my soul because there are no regulations, no guidelines. You know, like with comedy, you gotta set the joke up, you gotta make it funny, you gotta make it big. With horror, you can experimentally do whatever you want, and it's still known as horror. It's very therapeutic. I feel horror is very therapeutic for me. So if I were to tackle any other genres, it probably wouldn't be on my own. It would be probably through somebody else's project. But I did recently have a feature film script written for me by the very talented Gregory Blair. And it is a film called Duplicitous. And it is more of like a dark thriller than it is horror. So that's going to be the new adventure for 2022. And yeah, we'll just kind of see how that goes. It's still pretty evil, pretty mean, but I do play kind of like a different character. And yeah, dark thriller.
Awesome, that's so great. So for the Malvolia character, do you foresee that developing into something more in terms of like maybe you'd want to maybe develop a TV pilot out of it, or like a 90-minute feature film of just that character doing something, not just, kind of being a host? I mean, kind of like, do you have like a maybe a 3 to 5 year plan for what you want to do with her, or do you kind of just see her as like window dressing in terms of on this hosting kind of deal?
I mean, I would always love to expand on her. Absolutely. This is a character that I absolutely love, that I could definitely see myself playing for the next 10 years, if not longer, if people will have me, and I would absolutely love it. At the beginning of 2020, I was writing a feature film kind of based on her origins, which started out really fun. And then as the year progressed and things got really hard and really depressing, and I was staring at the same four white walls all day long, I lost kind of that drive. And so, 2021 has been a year where it's time to, I fixed myself. I went through therapy. I'm still going through therapy. Fixed myself. Fixed, what I want and all that kind of stuff. And now we're just moving along and getting that inspiration back, that drive back, that happiness back, that excitement back. That we're living the dream every day. Even if we're not, we got to fake it till we make it. I would love to finish that feature film based on the origins of her. I would love to. The problem is I write really slow when it comes to features. Shorts, I could write in an hour. I could write in like 10 minutes. But for feature films, for some reason, it is such a task for me to get done. So that might be a little bit of a work in progress for a couple years, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see
Yeah,
what happens.
there's no rush. It's going really well. So this is something I was thinking about asking you, knowing that we were going to talk today, knowing that you are somebody who makes your own stuff and films all over the area. And I've talked to a few other producers and directors and writers about this. And it's interesting on the different answers I get. So I'll put it out to you. So having been in this area for a while and having made, several productions, have you ever been out somewhere like on a location shoot, whether it's downtown LA or Palisades or the desert or Angeles Forest or something, where you've looked around and you've seen like a building or a weird I don't know, a rock formation or just abandoned warehouse or something where you thought that would be a great setting for a movie? Why doesn't somebody do that?
I think I selfishly took a location. I did a movie called Lilith, where they shot at the old animal hospital in Riverside, and that's where I got the idea for season 2, Malvolia Halloween. It was kind of like this. It was definitely decaying location. It definitely had like a mental asylum feel and vibe to it, and that's what I did. I took that when I saw what they had done in Lilith, and I knew at that time the location was for free. You could rent that for free. You just had to have insurance. I was like, let's jump on that. Let's do that. And so I created the season 2 script around there. But I feel like, growing up around Salem witches and stuff like that, like a lot of the inspiration came from there. And I feel like a lot of things have been done, with that idea. That's kind of my answer.
Well,
Nothing else
I
is
just
really
think that now that
popping
things are
up.
opening up, and I've gone and done things with friends, and it's just so interesting. Even like if it's a really well-known landmark, if you think about like the Griffith Observatory, right? It's like everyone knows that. But if you're in the parking lot
Mhm.
and you turn your back to the observatory and you look at that old forest behind it, I mean, that forest looks
Mhm.
200-300 years old. And if you just walk a little bit into that, I mean, I don't know, it's probably ridiculously expensive to film there, but it's just one of those funny things where behind you there's like you could have so many people just going on a vacation doing whatever with the observatory. But the last time I was there was like, yeah, but I mean, if you do this and turn completely around, that's a really freaking creepy old forest. And there's
Yeah.
so much
Yeah.
around here,
I,
the stuff where you drive up to PCH, and it's like, okay, there's some little restaurant here with like elderly people having their soup and chips, but it's like 500 feet away where there's these weird like rock croppings, and it's like this would be a really cool scene where somebody's getting taken and they don't know that they're going to be like pushed to their death, and it's like a suspense movie or something. It's just so funny that the area where we live, there's all this stuff going on and people just need to go like this.
for sure. For sure. And think outside the box. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what that says about my mind, where I'm like, oh, this idyllic setting, and we should just push this person over the
Push this person over the cliff. I
whoops.
think you need to get into some more horror and get some aggression out. No, just kidding.
I've got the scripts out there. So have you been submitting like anything to festivals, like shorts or scripts or anything like that?
I've taken a little break. I every Malvolia season I used to create shorts like on the regular. The last short that I think it's like the last short I did was called That Night. I believe that was in 2019 we released it. We shot it in 2018. And that one was a very frustrating piece for me because it was always like, oh, you play the villain, you're always evil. You can't play the victim. So in that movie, I play the victim. I specifically wrote for that. And that definitely took the film festival circuit by storm. And it was a lot of fun. But ever since then, I've taken a break because I just really haven't. I've really focused on wanting to work with other people and just wanting to be an actress for a little while. Um, and that didn't go really according to plan. So now I'm kind of back creating my own stuff.
The thing is,
But
I know that's a cliche, but it's like no one knows you better than you. So you are the one that
true.
knows, what have I already done? What am I sick of? What have I not tried? Like, what have I been wanting to do for 5 years and no one's given me a chance to do? And if you can create
Yeah.
it yourself, why wait around like twiddling your thumbs waiting for that perfect script to fall from the sky that might not?
100. Yeah. Another thing for me too is like the frustration of like the names, like everybody needing a name a part of their project, which is so hypocritical of me because I will have a name for my Thanksgiving special this year. But I just went through this time where I was getting so frustrated because all the names were always getting all the parts, and I'm like, when am I going to get the break too? Like, when is somebody going to give me a chance? And so I've definitely come full circle, and here we are again, me creating my own work and trying to get my name out there, and getting this feature film script written by Gregory was a big step for me too. So, yeah, I think I'm on that path again. You're right. Yeah, got to do it myself.
I'm just saying, like me myself, I just got some horror scripts, like short film stuff, just accepted to festivals. And I wasn't really like, I wrote horror stories when I was younger, but I did comedy for like, I don't know, 20 years. And I got right back into horror after
Wow.
working. I had some great conversations with, Reina Velarde.
Yes.
And
Yes.
she and I worked on a project last year, and that just got into a festival this year. Because I'm sure like, even though we did it like a year ago, so much stuff was pushed back because of the pandemic. Only now I'm hearing back from these festivals. I'm like, oh, I guess it's still going on. But she was like, right. So she and Paul were like, oh, if you have like horror stuff, and I'm like, okay, well, do we know any actors or actresses that they're like, you have got to talk to Jen Nangle? And I'm like, okay. So we'll see. We'll see
And
what
here
happens.
we are.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so tell me about some like crazy incidences where, because I just picture you with having worked on so many horror movies. Have there been times when like you or other members of the cast, I wouldn't say like coated in buckets of blood or whatever, but you've walked from like a set, which could just be somebody's backyard, and you're like, oh my God, we've been here. It's I'm starving. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. Let's just go to Denny's and like get something to eat. And just walked in like totally wrecked. Like you just
Yeah.
walked out of like a Robert Rodriguez movie where you have like bullet holes in your face and hatchet marks and scrapes and ripped up clothes. Have you had that happen where you've walked into like a restaurant or a fast food place just to like, you know, get something and everybody just was just like,
No, we live in Los Angeles. Nobody looked twice at me. So this was kind of
oh,
funny. Um, like last year when we did the Halloween special, I wanted to be like doused in like Carrie blood. Like that was like my goal. I just wanted it all over me. And so we did this like spray thing where I bit into this guy's neck and we got this crazy spray and stuff like that. And so coming home, I was head to like waist, all covered in blood. And I think I was still in my white dress, so it was all there. I came home and I ran into like a couple of my neighbors. Nobody looked twice. Nothing happened. And then like I walked into the apartment and I turned to I was like, look at me. And my boyfriend was like, holy shit, like, wow, that's crazy. And I'm like, I just walked by two people and they didn't even like blink. They didn't even ask. I didn't even get pulled over. Like nobody cared.
like you might as well be in a
And then
commissary at a studio, right? Where they're just like,
yeah, it's whatever. It's the same thing. Yeah. And then 2 weeks ago, I filmed Hell of the Screaming Undead with Dustin Ferguson, and I had a moment where I hurt somebody. And again, I was covered in blood. I had blood all over my shirt too because I had to touch this head. And again, I'm walking in, and my neighbors, my direct next door neighbors, are coming home hanging out from like with two people, and I'm trying to like grab my stuff and walk really quickly by them because I'm like spurts of blood all over
like
my shirt.
destroyed, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh god, like their friends are gonna think that I'm nuts. Like they've seen me, in Malvolia dresses, like they know that I'm like kooky crazy, always like weird girl with blood and dark hair and dark dresses and stuff like that. But the friends, so I'm like trying to run right by them. I'm like, hi, how are you? And she wanted to stop and have a conversation with me, and I'm like, I'm good, I gotta go because I didn't want to scare them. So, but nobody cared.
Nobody cares. It's LA. Like,
Nobody cared.
so I know you probably worked on projects like outside of town. So this is going back years ago. I had a small part in a film called Resurrection Mary in outside of Detroit about this ghost, and she lures people like in cars to like at night to walk out of the cemetery or to walk away from their cars, and then they get hit by other cars and people get killed.
Oh
And
wow.
so it was one of, like I was saying, it was one of those things where we'd been filming like all night because you have to film at night, and we were starving and like all the craft stuff was gone because we'd been there and there were only like 4 or 5 of us like actors on set. And so we ended up at like this cheap, like I don't know what it was, like some kind of Denny's knockoff thing. So it was the me, and I had like this ripped up like hoodie on, like this cheap ass like tire mark thing like across my face, and they had like taped my nose or whatever, and my hair is all like supposed to be like crispy and burned, and then the girl playing Resurrection Mary with like her wedding dress and like a big hole, like fake hole in the middle, and a couple of other guys that had been like really messed up, and we're just sitting there at the counter. And it was like the end scene of Avengers where they go to that restaurant and they're just fucking like exhausted. And we're just
Destroyed.
there and we're just having our drinks and we're eating our food. And like the director was just sitting there and he was just like this, like just making notes. And then the waitress comes over and she was like, Jesus fucking Christ. And she's like, are you guys okay? And then the girl playing Mary, it was great. She was just like, hell of a night, hun. She's like, I'll be back with some drinks. And then she's like, and we were all just like this. And I just wish somebody would have been there to take that picture because, like you said, you're just not going to get that reaction in like LA or Orange County or anything like that. So, have you done projects like outside of LA and had like weird reactions or weird situations happen?
No, when I have shot outside of LA, I've always kind of been like stayed on location. Didn't venture out really anywhere. Or usually when I am covered in blood or something like that, I try to somewhat fix myself up to look kind of normal.
Yeah, I don't want to just step out on the street and be like, just have
Hey
that
guys, what's
like,
up?
have you ever, I mean, you have to tell me at some point, even if you haven't in the past, like, please tell me, like, in the near future, you just do one of those scenes where you're just, when you killed somebody with a chainsaw or hatchet, but then you're just doused in blood. And then you'd walk down the street, and I just want to see somebody just lose their shit, and then have you be like really almost like sympathetic and motherly and be like, oh, it's okay, honey, it's not my blood.
It's not mine, it's somebody else's.
It's okay, it's not my blood. And they're gonna be like, fuck.
I do get wrecked in that night. Like I get wrecked in that night. And I took a bunch of pictures and I even tried to FaceTime with my mom, but she wouldn't pick up. So
Is she like, oh, Jennifer?
yeah. I
Have
don't
you done
even
it
I think
before
I
where you've shown your parents stuff and they're just like,
no, no, yeah. She ain't having it. I don't care. Actually, my mom refuses to watch that night because I definitely go through. So like my aunt, she stopped it halfway through. She couldn't watch it, and then my dad watched it, and I think he told my mom, yeah, you probably shouldn't watch it because it. She said, see, I've never had a child before. I don't know what it's like to have that kind of relationship with a child, but like she was like, it's so hard to see you go through certain things, and that night is pretty realistic, and so too
I
realistic.
get it.
So.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Well, to like a darker subject matter, because of the nature of like all of the stories that you've been working on and the practical effects, has there been a situation where like something's kind of gone wrong or anybody's gotten hurt?
No.
Even like a minor,
No.
like,
There was one thing where I had to use a real axe on set.
oh, just to get
Um,
the reflection.
uh-oh. Oh, say that one more time.
Oh, I said, use the real axe just to get the glint of the metal on the camera.
Is it me?
What?
Am I back? I think I've been freezing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just like the axe, when you use like a real axe to get the reflection of the metal, and then when you stab somebody, it's just the retractable blade or the rubber. Is that what you're talking?
Um, no, it was actually like we didn't have an axe, so they gave me a real axe, and I had to like come down over an actor's head, and I was like, I don't feel comfortable with this. Like I didn't want to do it. You know, hands down was like, I can't. You got to give me something else. And so I think I ended up being talked into it because I did 2 takes of it, but we practiced it where I would
Yeah.
go and where we could do camera angles. But like to ever again, I will never do that ever
No,
again.
no, no. Like safety first. I mean, I've even been hurt doing stuff that's not horror that is just no one foresaw it happening. Like I was in a short and I played a robber breaking into somebody's house, and to knock the guy out who we were robbing, we had a tearaway vase.
Mm-hmm,
So I'm
mm-hmm.
holding the vase, and it's like basically you just drop it on their head because your head's pretty hard, and it's just like this soft plastic, and it's supposed to just kind of like crumble around his head, and it didn't
Disintegrate. Yeah.
right, and I got like this sliver right in my hand, and I didn't even know because I was just so
Yeah.
into it, and I had the ski mask on, and I couldn't. It was like low light, and I couldn't see that well. And then I went and sat down, and then the guy, the guy that I was in the scene with, he like we were outside, and he was like smoking, and he turns around and he goes, "Holy fuck!" And I'm like, "What?" And he goes,
Bro, you're bleeding.
and I'm like, "Huh?" And I turned around, and I was like, um, "I'm just gonna pull it." The director was like, "Do not. We got to take you to the hospital." I'm like, "It's fine. I don't feel anything." No, no, dude, you are in shock. You don't feel anything because you're numb. You're in shock, and I'm like, ah. And so we just poured some rubbing alcohol on it, and I pulled it off, and I fucking did the whole like Bruce Campbell thing where it's just like duct tape, you put some gauze and some bandage, and like wrapped it up. And I was like, look, we're losing the light, guys. And then like after we wrapped, I guess I went to a couch or something, and then they were like looking back at like what they'd shot that day, and then they ordered like, you know, food and everything. I guess I slept for like 2.5 hours, and they didn't even want to wake me because they said it's just like you're so like adrenalized when you
Yeah,
fight like that, and you don't think about it, and then it's like, oh, are we done? And then your body relaxes, and it was just so. And to me, it's like I was not mad at the director or the producer or the actor's head because he was fine. It's just stuff happens, even if
it
it's a
does. It
safe
does.
base, you know.
Yeah.
So
Luckily for me,
the
I
axe
don't
thing.
remember.
Tell me some other stuff
Yeah,
that you they've been asked to do that you're like, no way.
nudity. um, Really, that's pretty much it.
I'm
I
just
gotta be honest, like
surprised for
everybody that
all
I
of the
work with is
stuff that
like,
you've done. Like no one's been like. I just picture like a stunt guy or like a PA or a DA coming up to me and like, look, Jen, we're just gonna put this harness on you, okay? And you're only gonna be like 6 floors up, and it's totally safe. I can't imagine you being like, yeah, maybe not.
I gotta be honest, everybody that I worked with has been so professional. Everything is always upfront. Everything is discussed, except for that axe thing. But everything else has been really presented in a way where it's like, this is what we're gonna do. This is how we're gonna do it. And I've been really fortunate and really lucky because if I ever had a situation like you, like fun fact, I'm afraid of real blood. I can't like even if it's like a little pinprick, I start freaking out. Like so I wouldn't be able to do that.
Like I
I
just
faint.
picture like you've done so many of these projects. You probably can go into a room where the props are, and you can probably by sight now, I'm guessing, or smell, tell like Cairo, you know, this food coloring, ketchup. Like you probably can tell from like 10 feet away at this point, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Also what it looks like too. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, the things we learn about people. Um, so have you ever thought about going back to Massachusetts and working on projects there with either the people you've met in LA or people you knew growing up?
We did talk about a Malvolia episode being shot in Massachusetts. We've also talked about a Malvolia episode being shot in New York. It's just money, it's funding, it's just getting everybody there. It's so much easier to just kind of manipulate an area and try and make it look like that than bring everybody out there. So I would be open to it. I would love it. I would love to shoot a movie in Boston. I would love it, but the opportunity hasn't shown itself yet. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Well, you have to play the lottery to win the lottery, right?
100. Yep. 100.
So so take me through some of these websites that you have to help kind of either plug yourself or the show, because there's a lot of people watching who aren't familiar with the stuff here, and I'm trying to kind of give you a platform to reach out to as many people as you can. So go ahead and go down the laundry list of everything you need to plug.
All right. So you can watch 4 seasons of Malvolia, the Queen of Screams on YouTube, and that's youtube.com/C/Malvolia, the Queen of Screams. Season 5 will be coming out at the middle to end October. I'm still really trying to figure things out with getting that up and running. We were just really concentrating on shooting the Halloween special and the Thanksgiving special. So the other episodes and when I'm hosting will probably be up mid-October. It's really easy on all social media platforms. I'm at Queen Malvolia. And then on Facebook, I'm facebook.com/Jennifer Nangle, at Jennifer_Nangle on Instagram and Twitter. And then if you want to check out some of my short films that I've done, especially that night, it's all on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/C/ I believe it's Jennifer Nangle. They changed it on me like a year ago or something. So I believe it's that, or if you search Jennifer Nangle that night, you'll find it. Because it used to be Jane Nangle actress. And then they changed it to like mine. I don't know what YouTube does anymore. I don't know.
Yeah, YouTube has been a little bit weird in the last year. Like I've noticed that like I'll go to sleep and like check like a video I made, like the kid count, and I'm like, oh, okay. And the next day it's like half as much, and I'm like, okay, what just happened? Or they'll change the title or like the spelling of something, and I'm like, okay, I don't think there are like little gremlins that live or work at YouTube that are just while people are sleeping or something, but the fuck, I don't know.
They have to, because I did a short film called The Deal, which was a little bit risque. Like it's not like crazy like what you see nowadays. It's a little bit. I'm like tied up and duct taped, so there's a fetish out there for that, and that's why we went viral. But there was a certain picture where I am bound, and I used that as the default picture, and YouTube didn't like it and took it down and gave me another screenshot of the movie. I was like, oh, okay.
And the worst,
that was after it was
when they do that, and without your permission or your knowledge, and then they'll just put up like some random picture of you like reaching for something, like, and you're not looking at the camera, and I'm like, who thinks replacing like a perfectly centered, well-lit picture with somebody just being like reaching for like something off the shelf or whatever?
Yep. Mm-hmm. They ain't fooling us. You ain't fooling us, YouTube. No.
We're not on to you, motherfuckers. We're on to you.
100. Yeah.
What else I was going to ask you? So we know that you are actress, writer, director, producer. Is there any other hidden qualities about Jennifer Nangle that we don't know about yet? Like, do you play the trumpet? Or, because I kind of feel like at some point you're going to just do everything for your stuff. No, I mean, like, keyboard, maybe you're
like start composing
or seamstress. I don't know.
I wish I could add seamstress. I do not have the patience. I've tried to like, make like dresses and stuff like that. Now I just go to Amazon and buy pieces and put them together. Like
you're like, 4 trapezoids and a rectangle do not make a dress. Fuck these blueprints.
We'll just duct tape it. We'll super glue it.
We'll just duct tape, scrape. No one will know.
Yeah. No one will know.
It's my blood, but it's okay.
At least it's realistic. I wouldn't be able to be there with you though. I'd be like, I gotta shoot my scenes away from him. I can't look.
Like, I'm just here, and then I have to hold my arm like this. Like, what? Like what? We'll just do that.
Oh my God, no.
In the background, it's fine. I'll just have my hand out of the shot.
But I'll know it's there. I'll know.
You're like, I already know. It's like Lady Macbeth, right? With the blood on the hands.
Once you've seen it, you can't look away.
So do you play any instruments?
I used to play the flute and piccolo from 4th grade all the way up to senior year. I was in the marching band. I was in concert band. I was in show choir. I was in theater. I can read music.
Put it out there. I mean, people are going to watch this. They're going to be like, we've been looking for this woman for years. How we never knew that she did this. Now we can cast her.
Who looks like Morticia and can play the piccolo. I know. It's crazy times.
So yeah, because I'm guessing because you've been involved on every level. So I'm gonna guess you probably had a hand in maybe even like minor like set dressing and decoration and that thing in college where they have you build a flat and paint it like one color, where they have the
Yeah, I haven't
rectangle
done.
stretch the canvas and you're like, I'm building scenery, and they're like, no, you're not.
I actually have not done that, luckily, on my own. I
Yeah,
think I did that in college
I
like
made
once,
that
but
thing and I don't know how I finished it, but I wouldn't show that to like humans. It's
yeah,
not
no,
pretty. So,
no.
yeah.
I had to do my own special effects for the Halloween special. You'll see a very pretty thing on my face, and I did that myself. I did that
Nice.
myself.
I was going to ask you if you have like, I don't know, a good magician that reveals their secrets, but when it comes to, I want to say like open wounds or something, like fake wounds, do you recommend more like prosthetics and then just putting like goo on them, like slimy, and just trying to get, because there's that juxtaposition between like blood spurting and then dripping. So you probably, like I was joking before about the Sam Raimi school of horror movies, but you probably like had some good trial and error stuff with that, I'm gonna guess.
Yes, yes. I also bought these guys to use for it's the transfers, the Tinsley transfers.
Oh, cool.
But they're so like chunky that it looked really fake. So I ended up going on YouTube and just Googling like how to make like a scratch. And so this chick, like step by step with lipstick and like powder and blush and eyeliner, we made it, and it looked really dope. It looked dope. And then
That's
when I
great.
did 5G zombies, I wanted, and we were in the middle of the pandemic, so I couldn't go out and get anything or whatever. I wanted to have like a zombie bite on my arm. And I'm like, how can I do this? And they're like, oh, molding clay, blah, blah, blah. I tried
Holding
all this stuff.
clay?
This It was like that scar molding makeup stuff. It's a makeup clay that you could
Okay.
form like into a bite. It didn't work. Didn't stay on my arm. Not I'm like immediate results right now. So I took eyeliner, glue, and made like a bite with teeth, and then let it dry, and then put like purple and red blush on top of it, and it looks presentable.
Hey, I mean,
So
the key
they're
is
pretty good.
just if you can work in shadows and like a quick pan or a quick cut, as long as you're not just like zooming in and focusing on it, it should pass. I mean, one thing that I've never
Yeah.
done, and then like in the scripts I've written with like gunshots and things, I've never worked with squibs, and I don't know anybody who has. Have you tried that yet? Working with squibs where like stuff's blowing up from my gunshots and things?
No, no. I did we did play with one where it was like a baggie filled with, and when we got stabbed, we thought like the baggie would break when there was the stabbing, but it didn't work out very well. No. So I think we cut and then added more blood.
Like
But no,
I'm
I've
okay
never done
with
squibs.
like a cap gun and just like um paint it like that some of them have like the safety orange plastic and then
Orange thing. Yeah.
paint, or just rip that off with pliers and just paint the gray like all black, because I feel like you can just add that in post the sound, but I
Yeah.
feel like the
Yeah.
actor needs to feel like the recoil of the,
100, because
because
even trying to
otherwise they're
fake
just like,
that. Yeah.
it's just Star Wars, it's just pew pew and it's
Yeah.
like um, so those are high quality sound effects, copyright by Eric
Pew
Lawson.
pew.
Yeah,
Pew
right.
pew. Yep.
um, uh, so yeah, has there been anything else like practical effects wise that you haven't tried that you want to try, or like you want to mess around with like testing and see if like you can make it work?
I did write a scene where an actress like pretty much hangs herself from like a big tree.
Mhm.
Malvolia hanged herself in the Halloween special last year, but we totally faked that.
Now that's
I would love to just
harness, right, around your waist, and then it goes like up your back.
harness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Into the feature that I'm writing. But no, I've done neck slits, I've done stabs, I've done shanks, I've done a lot. I'm lucky though, I have a very creative special effects team that is like family to me. And so whenever I say I want this, they don't blink an eye and they're like, okay, let's do it.
But you want a great white shark, I can get you one by 4 o'clock.
Oh, hey, Eric, we're now pals.
Yeah, I mean, I've just heard so many crazy stories about like independent films, and people are just, that's one of the things, like one of the reasons why I was drawn to like wanting to work with you. Like when we reached out like last fall was in talking to Raina and Paul and other people that have worked with you. It's just, I kind of feel like we connect on that level where we came to LA and it's like, you're not going to just walk into a Steven Spielberg movie, no one knows you or something like that. When you first get to town, it's like, let's just make stuff. Let's find people who like to write, find people who have equipment. Let's find people that like their grandma has an old farmhouse and you could use that for like 3 or 4 different shorts, and if that goes well and that crew is tight, you could use that crew and just figure out some kind of like 2 or 3 week schedule and start making a feature film. So yeah, I think that you're on the right track and I expect like huge things from you in the near future.
Let's hope so. Let's hope so.
I mean,
and P.S. If anybody's grandma does have a country house, we need one. So
I need one too. I just wrote this thing called Manifestor. I'm saying that's all I need to know. So you have the script.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just saying.
Whose grandma's gonna give us her country house?
Come on. We got to bury a body in the backyard. I mean, and when the neighbors, will just be like, look, it's not my blood. It's fine.
It's not mine. It's fine.
Come on, you bury stuff in the backyard. Look at your dog. Your dog away from here, though, seriously.
Yes. Yeah. No.
All right. Well, we've been going at it here for about an hour, and this has been so great. So is there anything else you want to let the folks watching know about you or about your projects or anything else about how can they reach out to you in terms of, work or how to get a hold of you for projects or things like that? I know we've got like the YouTube stuff and like the Facebook. I mean, do you do stuff like that? Like unsolicited, like reaching out about projects?
100. Yeah, you slide into my DMs. I will. I'll take you through my DMs or queenscreamproductions@gmail.com. You can send all business inquiries there. Yeah, but pretty much what I do ask is just be really specific of what you're looking for and have a script ready. I'm all about the pitching and all that kind of stuff, but to move forward, I really need like a physical script because that to me is like, okay, we're going to move to the next step. A lot of people love to talk and love to pitch things and it's awesome. And I 100% want everybody to be really creative and stuff, but like, I just want to start moving on to like actually making stuff instead of just talking about it.
Yeah, so, I totally get it. I totally get it. So,
yeah.
Well, I'll just say thank you for being on Make Your Own Fun. You've been delightful as I figured you would be. And
thank you.
Yeah, and like I said, best of luck to you. And I hope that the Halloween special kicks ass. And hopefully we'll work together in the near future. And hopefully we'll be scaring a lot of people too.
It's one of my specialties. I love it. So yes.
All right. Have a great weekend. Nice to talk to you finally.
Thank you. You too. Thank you so much for having me.
No worries.
Bye.
Bye.